Okay. Well, thank you all for being here. I really appreciate it. We are here because Americans and Rhode Islanders who work hard and do the right thing are entitled to their full pay. Labor Day is right around the corner, and so today we are announcing the reintroduction of the Don't Steal Act, a bill to crack down on wage theft and ensure that workers in Rhode Island and across the country are not cheated out of the pay that they have rightfully earned by employers who pay less than their promised wage, steal tips, or fail to follow overtime laws. And we see it all the time, unfortunately. We saw it here in Rhode Island last year, where a major restaurant chain was found to have withheld more than $500,000 in back wages to 104 of their employees by failing to pay minimum wage and overtime. We've seen it elsewhere in the country as well. Imagine that you are working for $12 an hour as a painter or a roofer under the hot sun, and your employer doesn't pay you the wage that they have promised, doesn't pay you overtime, falsifies pay records to cheat you out of the wages that you have earned. This has happened all across the country, with the Department of Labor last year fining one large builder for doing this across 3 different states. Maybe you're working in a residential nursing or rehab facility, doing heroic work, exhausting work, long hours on your feet, but you aren't being paid overtime rates the way that is required under the law. Last year, in one of the nation's largest wage recovery judgments, a Pennsylvania court awarded $35.8 million in overtime back wages to more than 6,000 employees of a big nursing and rehab company. So this happens all across the country, including here in Rhode Island. These stories, unfortunately, are true for thousands of workers. Wage theft costs American workers, it is estimated, more than $50 billion a year. That is more than the value of all robberies, burglaries, and motor vehicle thefts combined. So why does this happen? It happens because in too many places, employers know that they can steal from their employees, that they can skim money from their own employees without strong penalties, and only at worst get a slap on the wrist. It is crazy that in this country, you can get jail time for stealing a television, but for stealing wages from your own employees, you get just a slap on the wrist. That's just wrong. That's why I'm reintroducing my bill, the Don't Steal Act, that will update penalties for wage theft at the federal level to be in parity with other forms of theft under federal law. Under current federal law, an employer who steals wages from their employees can be fined no more than $10,000, no matter how much they've taken or from how many people. My bill would remove the cap and ensure that the penalty is similar to other financial crimes like embezzlement. That would increase the fine based on the monetary value of the wages that were stolen, whether the person was a repeat offender, and the number of employees who were impacted. Under current law, federal law, an employer who steals wages will never serve any jail time for their first conviction and can never serve over 1 year, no matter how large the offense. Under my bill, violators could face up to 1 year of prison time for the first offense and up to 5 years for the second offense. Again, this is just to bring wage theft in parity at the same level as other forms of financial theft. Again, it is just beyond unfair. If I go to Best Buy and steal a television from the store, I'm probably going to jail. If I steal 100 televisions from the store, I am definitely going to jail for a long time. But if I steal employees' wages from 100 people, at most I get a slap on the wrist. It's just wrong. Now it's worth noting that here in Rhode Island, at the state level, our state leaders have done something about this. State leaders in Rhode Island passed legislation last year to strengthen penalties for wage theft. And I want to thank our General Assembly leadership, Speaker Shekarchi, then Senate President Ruggiero, Governor McKee, Attorney General Nerona, who along with our partners in organized labor, fought to strengthen wage theft penalties here in Rhode Island. But now it is time to take the lessons we have learned in Rhode Island and the leadership that began in Rhode Island and bring it national. Because Americans who put in a hard day pay should receive the wages that they have earned. We have a number of partners here who have been leaders in this effort here in Rhode Island and who are here to help us advocate to bring this change to the federal level. With that, I want to call up and thank for her leadership the Secretary-Treasurer of the Rhode Island AFL-CIO, who came up through LIUNA, through the Laborers Union, and is a good friend, Karen Hazard.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Karen Hazard. I am the Secretary-Treasurer for the Rhode Island AFL-CIO. The first thing I want to do is I want to thank Congressman Magaziner for his leadership for standing up for the working people, not just in Rhode Island, but also on a national level. On behalf of the 80,000 union members and 275 affiliates that the AFL-CIO represents, I'm here today to support the Don't Steal Act. Every day workers show up, do their job, earn their pay. But far too often, that pay is stolen from them. Wage theft happens across many industries, and it takes many forms. Employers who refuse to pay for a fair job done with the hours, the overtime issues, whether it be tips, so many forms across the gamut of labor and working people. The actions that are being done by these employers deprive workers of millions of dollars. This needs to stop. This act that the Congressman is introducing will assure that that will stop happening. We're here to support that. What this means, not just to us in Rhode Island, but nationally, if this doesn't happen, it means that parents are able to put food on the table. It means that hardworking people are being robbed of the dignity of a fair day's pay for a fair day's work. It also means not being able to pay their rent. It's a domino effect. And as you heard Congressman Magaziner talk about, that is why Rhode Island passed this legislation in 2023 to make wage theft a felony. And as you heard the Congressman also say, that on the federal level, this can happen and employees can get away with it. How fair is that? Listen, this is a common sense legislation. There shouldn't be hesitancy in reference to passing this. It really is something that is fair to everybody across the board. Listen, this is about basic fairness, right? This is about paychecks. This is about just doing the right thing. This act speaks to that. And we are here to support the Congressman. We will be behind him for all working people. And I thank you very much for your time.
I should have led off by thank you, Karen. I should have led off by welcoming everyone who was here today and thanking them for their partnership on this. This bill has been introduced by a dozen labor organizations nationally and here in Rhode Island, many of whom are represented today. I know we have representatives here from the electrical workers, the IBEW, from the carpenters, from UNAP, the United Nurses and Allied Professionals, the AFL-CIO, and others who you'll hear from shortly. Wage theft is a problem across multiple industries. It's prevalent in the hospitality industry, it's prevalent in the construction industry. Here to speak about the construction industry and talk about it from the employer's point of view as well, because keep in mind, the victims of wage theft include not only the employees whose money has been stolen, but also the taxpayers of Rhode Island who lose tax revenue as a result of wage theft, and the employers who are doing the right thing and paying their employees a fair wage are put at a disadvantage as well. Representing Build Rhode Island, a business and labor partnership in the construction industry, we have Greg Mancini. Greg.
Thank you, Congressman. I also want to recognize, before I start off, my good friend Justin Kelly from the Painters Union. We appreciate you stepping up on this very important issue, Congressman. As you indicated, over $50 billion a year is taken through wage theft. According to a study in Rhode Island from UMass Amherst, 20% of Rhode Island companies don't report to the DLT the correct wage and salaries they pay to employees. In addition, the same study determined 9.3% of all Rhode Island employers misclassify their workers as independent contractors. That is almost 1 in 10 Rhode Island. Okay? And wage theft not only hurts those not being paid, as the Congressman indicated, but their families, making it more difficult for folks to pay their bills, but also law-abiding contractors who miss business opportunities, and those contractors' workers. And this is particularly prevalent in the construction industry, where an unscrupulous contractor who doesn't pay the correct wage and benefit and workers' comp amount can shave their bid price by 20 to 30%, thereby eliminating any chance for a law-abiding contractor to compete with him. Yet the penalties for doing so much damage to workers, their families, competing businesses, and our economy is so little. And that is why Rhode Island changed the law in 2023, as the Congressman indicated. And Rhode Island is a leader in this issue. They're always a leader in any issue related to labor. And so we support the Congressman's initiative here because we think it'll bring penalties for wage theft in parity with other willful acts of theft, so that those workers will have the same protection as anyone else who has stolen something from them, be it a television, a car, or something else. And the key word here is willful. Like any other felony, the act has to be willful. So a company or contractor that makes a clerical or inadvertent mistake is protected. They're going to pay their wages, but they're protected. So there is no real reason for this bill not to pass. So thank you, Congressman, for taking the lead on this legislation, and we're here to assist you in any way we can to make sure that all workers are paid what they're owed and all contractors can compete on a level playing field. So thank you again.
Thank you. And so once again, this is an issue that transcends many different industries. We've talked about the construction industry, we mentioned healthcare, and I think I neglected to recognize SEIU 1199, who has also been a big supporter of this bill. And it's also prevalent in the food and hospitality industry as well. Here to speak a bit about that is Tim Milia from the United Food and Commercial Workers. Tim.
Thank you, Congressman. Thank you, Congressman. I appreciate this opportunity to speak to these folks today. And on behalf of the 10,000 men and women of the United Food and Commercial Workers Union, we thank you for the Don't Steal Act. Rhode Island, as it's been said, was a leader in this worker protection for wages back in 2023, and this is something that needs to be done across the United States. For far too long, employers have gotten away with a slap on the wrist when they fail to pay hardworking men and women their correct pay. This is not just bookkeeping issues. There are employers who deliberately withhold wages, tips from the very people who are making their business as successful as it is. These are the people who literally live paycheck to paycheck and cannot afford to lose any money. If any of us, as the Congressman had said earlier, were to walk into Lowe's or Home Depot or Best Buy and to steal something, I'll guarantee you we all go to jail and we all get convicted of a felony. But too many employers these days are doing the exact thing by stealing money out of workers' pockets, and they get a slap on the wrist, and there's no real ramifications for them to do it. And the ones who do it, when they do just get a slap on the wrist, will again reoffend and do it again at the first opportunity they have. So this is very important, and we support this legislation fully. The United Food and Commercial Workers International will be behind this as well. This is why corrupt employers must be held accountable and pay the price when they're caught in this. I will do everything I can to support this legislation along with my brothers and sisters in the labor movement. This is something that really affects everybody who represents workers in the state of Rhode Island, but it more so in the building trades areas where they talk about contractors underpaying and not paying their people as well. And the fact that we do have union contracts in place with most of our employees, we can check to make sure that everybody's being paid correctly. Where these unscrupulous non-union union employees will come in and they will literally undercut everybody to get the job and screw people in the process. So, Congressman, I thank you for all the hard work you do on behalf of the workers of Rhode Island. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you all again for being here, and once again, as we head into Labor Day, we need to make sure that we are doing everything that we can to support working people in Rhode Island and across the country, because a hard day's work should be rewarded with a fair day's pay, and that we need to make sure that the bad actors who are out there are not allowed to undercut employers who are doing the right thing, not allowed to take advantage of workers who do not have the benefit of being part of a union and are not taking jobs away from those who do. So this is a test, I think, for my colleagues in Congress. Are you actually serious about standing up for working people or not? If you are, sign on to my bill. Let's get it done so that wage theft is treated with the seriousness that it deserves, not just in Rhode Island, but all across the country. And with that, we're happy to take any questions.
What kind of response have you gotten from your colleagues?
So we introduced the bill last year. I think we ended up with about 25 co-sponsors, which, to be honest with you, I was disappointed with. We had only Democratic co-sponsors. I'm going to be working, redoubling my efforts to try to make this a bipartisan bill this year and to grow that support, because again, to me, this should be a red line issue. Now, that being said, it was relatively late in the session last time that we introduced it. And so we only were able to pull together the list of large endorsing organizations relatively late in the process. This time around, we're starting earlier, and so I'm hopeful that we'll be able to gain more momentum this time around.
The president has been talking up his, what he sees as his alliance with some unions. The Teamsters come to mind. Do you see any opportunity there, as at least to some degree the president talks differently about labor issues than some prior Republicans?
I hope so. Listen, if you claim to be pro-worker and you claim to be pro-law and order, then you should enforce the law and have tough penalties for people who steal from workers, right? If the reality is going to match the rhetoric, then the president should support this bill, as should my colleagues in Congress from both sides of the aisle. We haven't seen that yet. So I think this is going to be an interesting test, right? This is going to be an interesting test. If the Republican Party is now claiming that all of a sudden they do care about working people and they are listening to organized labor, this is a good organized labor endorsed bill that will help workers by cracking down on bad actors. I don't see why anyone wouldn't support it. All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.